Hello all, welcome back to the Tech on Toast podcast. My name's Chris Fletcher and it's season 11. This season we have ZenZap as our sponsor for the Tech on Toast podcast. And if you're in hospitality, you know how chaotic managing a team can get. Don't worry, ZenZap is here to change that. Now, I've been using ZenZap for my own team at Tech on Toast, and honestly, I don't know how we've managed without it. It's a game changer for keeping everything organised. Instead of juggling endless email threads, WhatsApp groups, and random sticky notes around my office, we've got everything in one place. Conversations sorted by topic, tasks assigned and tracked without fuss, and files right at your fingertips when you need them. And for you guys in the restaurants, it's a no-brainer. The kitchen team can report supply issues in a dedicated chat. Managers can roll out new specials to the front of house instantly, and task assignments like prepping for a big event, all handled effortlessly. And my absolute favourite part, ZenZap keeps your work life separate from your personal life. No more work messages clogging up my WhatsApp, and no more 10 p.m. pings from my team ruining my downtime. It's intuitive, secure, and works on any device, so you're always connected but always in control. If you're ready to simplify your team's comms and get your evenings back, try ZenZap for free. No card needed, zenzap.co. Go check it out. Big thanks to ZenZap. Big thanks to all of you for coming to listen. Should we get on with it? I think so. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the next episode of the Tech on Toast podcast. And today I'm joined by David Bird, Sales Director at Impact Data. David, how are you?
I'm very well. Yeah, very pleased
Welcome
to be here.
to Brewdog. You've been to Brewdog before, right?
Yeah,
This one.
times. Been to your shows a couple of times as well.
Yeah, that's all seems like a distant memory. And you're not based down here. I know this. You're up in the nice places, aren't you?
We're up in the well, we were originally based in Manchester.
Oh, right, okay.
So we had an office in Manchester. We were on King Street, right in the centre.
I know King Street. King Street West. I used to run a restaurant on the corner of King Street West.
King Street West, yeah.
Oh, really?
Rosso, Rio Ferdinand's restaurant.
Is that, it used to, I'm really old, mate. So it used to be called, it was an ASK, it was an AS restaurant.
Right, okay.
The one literally sits on the corner.
Yeah.
It's got like the bit that opens up onto the street.
You got All Bar One, and then at the top you've got Rosso.
That's where the new Molly's is going as well, in the Granada Studios there.
Okay.
Yeah, so anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
And you yourself, you live are you up in the Midlands somewhere?
So I used to live in Manchester. That's where I started life.
Right.
And then, I actually grew up in Shropshire. Moved to Manchester to go to uni. Left uni. Impact Data was based in Manchester, and then I've actually moved away now. So during the pandemic, we got rid of the office, just a cost that we didn't need.
Standard.
So now everybody's fully remote, and we find ourselves down in London all the time anyway. So
yeah.
I'm in Shropshire, so it's like Telford, so about half an hour from Birmingham.
Near Ironbridge? Am I too far away?
No, you're spot on. Very, that's a rare...
I used to have a girlfriend there. That's why.
Yeah,
I know it very well. Beautiful place.
It, won't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and my old boss at Carluccio's, Sarah Murray, was the COO, and she moved from London after 10 years of killing not killing in a good way, doing a great job at Carluccio's. She moved up to Shropshire and she bought herself something in Ironbridge.
Ironbridge is gorgeous.
Yeah, she lived it up there.
There's a pub called the Woodbridge, part of...
Yes.
Who are they part of?
It's not Green King, is it?
No.
It's I think it's not Ever So Sensible Group, is it? I'm just going to keep saying names.
Yeah,
It's the best podcast ever.
It's a beautiful pub right on the river, isn't it?
Right. Okay. Yeah. No. It's stunning, and I think that area is. I had a lot of friends in Wolverhampton, that kind of way. We used to kind of travel down and go down there at uni and whatnot. But no, beautiful place. And how long have you been then at Impact Data? Has it been like a long time?
It's been a long time. Yeah.
How many?
I think we should just lean into this.
Quantify your long time.
So 18. I'm 39 now, for perspective.
Are you joking? Are you going to tell me you've been there 20 years?
I've been there since 2008.
That's a decent trek at a tech firm, isn't it?
Yeah. So I left uni, and then I was working at the MEN Arena. It's not called the MEN Arena.
Yeah. I used to go and watch the basketball there. They used to do they used to bring the guys who do all the tricks.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It was like a show. It wasn't basketball.
Harlem Globetrotters?
Yes, thank you. Yeah. I saw them there a few times.
Yeah. So I ended up working in the F&B department there for a while.
Did you really?
Yeah. Stopped taking.
Who were they owned by then? Were they owned by?
SMG Europe.
This podcast is going to be full of things we don't know.
SMG Europe.
SMG Europe
was the operator for the F&B side.
I was thinking of Live Nation. That's what I was thinking of. Because
that would be the ticketing side. Yeah. So we were on the F&B side of things.
Right.
So we would do stock taking, staff scheduling, just running all the kiosks essentially.
Right.
And then I met a man in a pub. So I had a friend who was a bit older than me. His wife ran a pub, and we used to go there after a shift. We were drinking in there. It must have been about 2 a.m. An Australian man walked down and said, "Can I join you for a beer?" So we said, "Yeah, sure." So I got talking to him, and he said, "What are you interested in?" I said, "Well, I've just finished uni. I'm working at the MEN. I did psychology, quite interested in marketing and sales." He said, "Well, I might have a job for you. Might have some things for you to do. I've come over from Melbourne, and I've just started this company in the UK. We should have a chat. And I thought, okay, well, it's 2:00 in the morning. I don't
Where's this going?
I don't think this is actually going to happen. But yeah, sure enough, he rang me about 2 weeks later, and I got involved. And my first job was going around Manchester, signing people up to databases.
Wow.
So back in the day, you'd bribe people with a free shop voucher. And then
Still happening, mate. It's not just back in the day.
yeah. So I just go, well, it was me and a bunch of promotional staff as well. So
Right.
I ran that whole team. I would just send them off each night, and we would come back and see how many names we'd got. And then we'd send it off to a data entry company to go and add these email addresses
Wow.
to what was, so our current platform.
What year are we talking there? Like early
2009,
2009?
something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. So then we would upload it to the CRM back then. It wasn't called TalkBox. It was another iteration. It was called Smart Venue. And it was quite a simple thing. You would send emails and SMS, but there was none of the intelligence that we have now.
Yeah.
I did that, worked with the Aussie for a while, and then he left, and the business wasn't doing too well. A few other people left at the time, and I was kind of left in charge. And for some reason, the responsibility just meant that I kind of felt
Stepped up.
empowered, and
Yeah.
I was like, well, it's all or nothing, right? So Lockie,
Strange, isn't it? That different people react probably different in that situation.
100%,
Yeah,
because-
not everyone would go your way.
yeah, I was quite shy when I was younger, and I was kind of like under this Australian guy, Steve Fitzgerald, one of the
Big character, I presume.
yeah, big character,
Yeah.
one of the shareholders. Like, see him when I go to Australia still. But he will laugh when he knows that I used to like be a little bit intimidated by him. So I just sit under his wing, and then when he left, and I had this whole thing to look after, it just stepped up.
Yeah.
And Lockie was saying earlier, he said there was a period in Australia where they were wondering about whether to pull the plug on the UK.
Wow.
It was kind of like down to one person, this young lad. He must have been about 22, 23, green, didn't know what, anything, but effectively saved the business and grew it from there. And now
That's so
sales-
cool.
Yeah.
See, I wouldn't have known that story without the podcast.
Yeah.
That's why we love the podcast. We find out stuff like that, and we should get into it really and explain people what Impact Data does. And do we call it Impact Data is the company, but with TalkBox is the product?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the company's Impact Data. We've had a number of products over the year. We used to have a staff rostering platform, but there are other businesses where that's their core focus, and they could do it
Do you
better.
still do that then, or is it
We've retired that. We have a SMS wholesaling platform. So we have a large client in Australia where we do their SMS flight notifications.
Okay.
It's like one of the budget airlines out there. So if your flight's cancelled or changed, then you get an SMS, and
That's you guys.
That's through us. But our core and everything with the pinnacle of what we do is TalkBox, which
Which is basically the digitalization of you wandering around the streets of Manchester at night.
100%. Yeah, it saves me a lot of steps. Yeah.
No, it's super interesting, and I think it's a space where one of my very first podcasts was a guy called Charles Gray, who's a CRO at Paytronics.
Yes.
And I found him riveting. There's no pressure, but it was just really interesting. Obviously, he had an accent, so that helped.
Yeah, of course.
Being
Yeah,
from
absolutely.
Boston, but it was just interesting listening to a view overseas, which you really have a good insight into with Australia, obviously, around CRM, around customer behavior, and around data. And it was super. And I think I've been on that journey since, and talking to lots of people, customers particularly. I find, I don't know how you feel about this, but operators still very much at the beginning of that journey. I know it sounds really stupid. Everyone's going to go, what are you talking about? But actually, I really do believe that the data part is still very early on. Some people are more advanced, obviously. Is that your experience as well?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So we used to sell TalkBox as a marketing platform, right? A little bit like you would MailChimp, but I'm talking a while ago. And now we know how long I've been working for Impact Data. It was a while ago.
It's a really long time. I feel like you should get a Rolex or something.
Yeah, I think so. It's my 40th birthday now.
Rolex
so I've
Dave.
got I've got my hopes on that. But yeah, back in the day, we would sell the platform as a piece of software. So you'd say, this is the platform, this is the cool things it does. You'd sign up, but then it would be up to the operator to do something with it. They'd have to put some data in there and work out what they're going to, they'd have to work out what their strategy is and what messages they're going to set up and execute that strategy and report on that strategy. There was a whole bunch of steps that were kind of left out and were down to the operator. So what that would inevitably end up in is if eventually a customer would say, look, we're not getting enough value from this, let's pull the plug. So we had to look at it. We said, well, look, we've got customers across the globe. We've got worldwide. Why don't we just go and look at what everybody's doing and analyze what types of automations are working best in what verticals with what partners. And let's be able to go to a customer and say, look, here's the TalkBox platform. It's beautiful. It's nice and clean, dead easy to use. But actually, we're also, when we turn this on, we're going to turn this set of automations on
Yeah.
that we have observed work beautifully for your customer, with your customers of your type.
Yeah,
And
I was
we
going
will
to say
set
that.
up for them.
Easier to put them in a box without being too many word puns there, but like easier to kind of, you've got that ICP kind of setup, haven't you, almost,
Yep.
that you understand from other customers.
Yep.
Or you're a similar brand, this will probably work for you as well.
Yeah, 100%. We and what we're able to do is actually, so we're not an agency, right? So we're not going to sit there with a blank piece of paper, and we don't need to, right? Why
Yeah.
would we sit there with a blank piece of paper? We've got all this evidence and data that tells us what we should be doing. So so we go to them and we say, look, here's the platform. We'll build your templates. Here's the strategy. And also to support that strategy, here's all the reporting you might want to see as well.
Yeah.
Because we're implementing the strategy for you and the automation, so we know what reports you're going to want to see. And so you'll be amazed at how many marketing managers I'm speaking to. When we get to that bit, they kind of just go, thank you, thank you very much. You've just taken away like 4 months of my work.
Yeah, because what does that process look like now for those people? So without impact data or without a tool, what are they doing? Are they searching through back ends of POS and stuff? I don't know how are they finding out how customers are behaving. Is it done very manually?
Well, there are platforms out there you can go and Google or
Yeah.
speak to you, and you can set up a CRM.
Yeah.
And you can fill it with some data, with some integrations. That's the easy bit, right? You've got this huge database then, and you'll have data points on different various behavior points for each customer.
Yeah.
Right? When were they last? It's typically RFM or loyalty data, so like recency, frequency, monetary. When were they last in? How much money they're spending? How valuable they are? But that's on a per contact level, and you've still got to work out how do I extract the value
Yeah.
from all of this data. So that's where we've taken the extra step to say this is how you do it, and we set that up. Once we've set that up and we report on it, then it's just a case of iterating and working out what's working the best and what's not working the best.
And what kind of period of time am I looking at then? So if I are at a stage where I'm kind of there, I'm kind of CRMing, let's call me 65%,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of understanding my customer journey. How long will it take me once I start working with you really to get some valuable insight out of it from working with your is it how long's it might be how long's a piece of string, I suppose, depending on the customer?
No. So for new activations where they're not really doing too much at the beginning and it's like a new engagement, we aim to have everything up and running within about 2 weeks. And then it's just a case of how much data they've got. So if they've got little data, we've got to wait for that ramping up period for that database to grow. If they've already got existing historical data, it can be really, really quickly because we're just tacking into. So what the automations are doing is they're tacking down to individual customers.
Yeah.
So for example, what a business might do is they might say, okay, well, we've got this huge database. Let's look at retention. So let's look at people that have stopped visiting, or we think are at risk of not visiting anymore. So what we'll do is we'll say 4 weeks after the last visit, send them a promotion, and that's fine. But that's kind of like step one because what you're doing now is you're treating everybody as one homogenous entity. And what you're actually doing when you're sending that promotion out, you're going to be sending it to people that would have visited anyway, which is an issue.
Yeah.
Because then you get the finance director saying, "Hang on a minute, well done on this campaign.
Yeah.
Thank you. However, I think £2,000 of that revenue you think you've made the business would have actually come in organically anyway." And then everybody goes, crap. So what we do is within that, we have this algorithm which predicts future visits. So we look at every individual contact, we update them every single day, and we work out this.
And is that all displayed on a dashboard then? Can you literally see that, or in reporting where you can...
You wouldn't need to. Like, why would you need to, right? If you've got 100,000 people in your database, you don't need to know when everybody's predicted next visit.
But you're saying it's per contact?
Yeah, but it's a trigger.
Right, okay. Yeah.
So what we do is we wait and observe to see if they turn up when we think they're due a visit. And if they do, leave them be.
Very cool.
Now the finance guy's happy.
Yeah.
Because you're not sending a discount to someone that would have come in anyway. However, what you can then do is you can say, well, if they miss their expected next visit by a period of time, reach out to them. So now you've taken that homogenous plus 4 weeks lapsed user campaign and you turned it into this really like one-to-one promotion that avoids cannibalizing sales and generates the uplift in sales that they're looking for with a retention campaign.
I was talking to Vic Searle about this a while ago, saying that actually there's a line on the P&L you've got beverage sales, food sales, whatever. I was arguing that email marketing or however you want to call it these days, should sit above the line actually in a revenue-based function, that actually you're looking on a P&L saying, okay, I made money in food, drink, and actually what you're doing or what your product is doing is monetizing data that otherwise money might be left on the floor.
Yeah, 100%.
And because I generally believe that actually 9 times out of 10 that you're going to meet someone like you or start working with someone like you, you're going to realize, oh God, yeah. Or it's going to be really obvious, right? It's going to pop out. What kind of success stories are you seeing? Like, I mean, is it? I'm sure there's some stupid big examples you've got, which are really big numbers. But is there quite a consistent level of success?
Yeah, I can give you a few examples. One of the things we look at is so you can look at revenue, which is one way to do it. The other way you can look at visit probability. So we have analysts that can do reports to work out what is the visit probability of a customer when you're doing nothing, and then how does that change when you're communicating, and helps us work out that.
And what is it? I'm super intrigued by this stuff.
Yeah, so what this does, it actually helps us make sure that the automations we're telling them we're going to set up are working. Because if that's not working, then we look a bit silly, right?
Yes.
So that's one of the things we're doing internally to ensure that we're being effective. But the probability of a visit when you receive a TalkBox automation goes up is anywhere between ×5 and ×20 times more likely in the next 7 days after receiving that campaign.
It's insane.
So there's that. If you're looking at like smaller businesses that we work with, like, owner-operated businesses, after the pandemic, we picked up 150 fish and chip shops, which is insane because it's insane because I didn't think there'd be a sector that would be particularly interested.
I've learned a bit about chip shops the last few weeks. There's a young lady who was a family-owned business. You might know her actually.
Probably. Maybe.
Again, I'm doing it again. It's
Harley's? Kaylee?
Kaylee, yes.
Yeah, Kaylee. Yeah, we love Kaylee.
What's her?
I think it's Harley's.
Harley's.
It's not Harley's.
Yeah, it's Harley's. Yeah. So it's a family-run business, and she was doing it. I think she's just stepping out at the moment. But yeah, super interesting. But she was telling me all about kind of. Obviously, I know casual dining. I know pubs and hotels. You kind of understand their barriers, but very different, isn't it? Very interesting what they come across as well with tech and what they're doing. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I digress.
But it's been refreshing because they're extremely keen to do marketing.
And they're great businesses, right?
And they've got super high visitation frequency.
Yeah.
So it's you get some really good data back.
And I find that probably super interesting because a chip shop, for instance, in a town, there's probably 4 or 5 maybe in a location of 4 miles, 5 miles.
Yeah.
And you pick the one you pick based on frequency, right?
Yeah,
based on the fact that you like that one.
Yes.
And you go there all the time. And I wonder how you kind of convert, Mr. Smith chip shop up the road. How do I nick Chris's chip shop customer over here, kind of thing? And I think that is what you're looking at, right? Trying to get those people to kind of frequent you rather than keep going back for more, because it must be hard to change that behavior.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the chippies, what we will do is we hook.
How we've got here, but it's fine.
It's cool.
Let's do it.
No, it's a good. It's a nice example. I like this example because it's a nice, easy, small business.
Yeah,
and you can demonstrate efficacy, and then it just scales.
And that's the thing for me. Simplicity is the key to explaining tech sometimes, right? And just explaining how you can activate on a very simple transactional type relationship in a single business that can drive revenue up. Carry on, sorry.
Yeah, so they so with those guys, they'd all had to sign up for click and collect. So we have one of our partners is QuickServe.
Right.
So QuickServe had they'd all gone to QuickServe and said, please help us. We can't operate without you because of lockdown.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden they had all this data, and then we came along and started connecting to those systems. So we're only talking to like the click and collect channel.
Yeah.
But in there, as you just mentioned about converting that to a regular, we work super hard, and we do this a lot with other partners as well, but we work super hard at driving second visits. That's really, really key. When we get someone new into a click and collect channel, or maybe we're getting loyalty data from somewhere, second visits is important. So that's one of the ways you can do it. But for these tiny chippies, individually, we looked at it, and it was about 500 quid a week was the sales revenue we were generating just from like click and collect, promotions to click and collect. And basically we were observing buying behavior, frequency, value, pinging out the right offer to the right person at the right time, not cannibalizing revenue, giving these little nudges to people that need to come back. It's like 500 quid a week without them lifting a finger.
I mean, and I often say it's very hard to prove ROI on tech, right? It's very hard. I feel some like POS guys, I mean, how the hell? It's so difficult. It's just a commodity, right? But I think with you guys, that's such a great story to tell. To say, look, obviously it requires work, it requires some effort, and you need to understand what you've got, the data. I mean, you guys work on that in the background, as you said. But that proof in the pudding is so crucial. I mean, it's the difference between, 5 times 52, I can't work it out, but 25 grand, is that right? Live maths on a podcast, also not a good idea. But that's someone's salary, right?
Yeah.
It's I think it's super cool.
But remember, they haven't had to do anything, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So they're obviously paying you.
Well, we developed as long as they pay their bills.
Yeah.
That's fine. So we developed a package for fish and chips.
Yeah.
So we would go to the fish and chips and say, look, here you go, turn this on, and it's going to make you loads of money, and you don't have to do anything. It's great.
That's just crazy.
Yeah.
And there's a fish and chip show. Are you aware of this?
We go to the.
You're aware.
Yeah, I'm aware. Well, there might be a few, but
I think there's a network on Facebook and there's a fish and chip group. I can't remember what it's called
super
now.
exclusive Facebook fish and chips group.
Yeah.
I think we've been pushed in there a couple of times, but we'd like to get in there a bit more.
Yeah,
but,
Joe Heather from Diveract is also a fan of the fish and chip group.
Yeah.
I think they sponsored the awards last year or something.
Yeah, so they have the NFFF Awards.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, we've been there. It's an amazing event.
I know, but it's just this underground mafia of chippies. I just find it mental.
They turn up in like Ferraris and stuff too. There's like so much money.
They're all pulling up in their Bentleys.
Yeah.
With a big golden chip on the front. Very cool. And when you scale up then at that level, so obviously that's like a very, not a micro business, but you're talking about potentially individual sites, maybe one or two. But when you scale up then to the ZZ's, Azori Group, those kind of people, does it become, I know it's bigger because so it becomes a bit more difficult and does it shrink down in the ICP? Are you seeing are the groups a lot more consistent across the big brands in the way they behave?
In terms of what, sorry?
In terms of the way they would visit and use the restaurant. So in Carluccio's, I used to be able to tell you without data, I think we used data, but it was about 1.2 visits a year across a Carluccio customer. Yeah. And I think when you get in these big brands, especially in the mid-market, I think people tend to use them in a certain way.
Yeah.
Like a birth, like someone said to me, it's more like a birthday or anniversary or something. They keep doing. We went to Benares today for lunch in Mayfair. I sound very posh. We were doing a case study there.
Yeah.
But she was telling me that it's getting really difficult to win customers. You should go and see it. Outside of people the regulars coming back for an anniversary or a birthday or a special occasion. She said, everyone loves us for that because we're special, but I need people to come in between.
Yeah, sure.
And I think that's one of the big challenges. How do you help those kind of people who sit amongst all the other posh places in Mayfair or whatever it might be, where they can how do they convert some of those people back into their business?
It's a great question.
Thanks. I feel like I'm not going to pay you for it, but Benares might.
Yeah.
They've got one here and one in Madrid.
It's a great question. It really depends on the way the business is looking to promote themselves, right? So some of these high-end venues might not want to be got email and SMS marketing. They might see it as just not a channel that they want to go down.
I mean, she generally brought it up today. She was saying to me, we've got to be better. Well, she said marketing. I don't know if she meant that, but she said we've got to be better at our marketing because we're just surrounded by competition now who are stealing our.
I mean, sometimes it could just be reminding people you're still there, right?
Yeah.
So we do a lot of QSRs, a lot of casual dining. There it's quite simple. You can do promotions, right? Yeah. Not blanket promotions, which we discussed, because that's wasted. That's wasting money. But clever.
Do you still see that? Is that quite common when you bringing on a new customer? Are they still doing that one email to all type thing?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. We'll say to them, what are you currently doing? So we've got a birthday message set up, maybe.
Right.
And then I'll just do it.
I suppose that's the basic one, right, that everybody should have.
Yeah. And then they say, I just send a promotion every 6 months or so. It's kind of like, well, we can do it this way. And it's like it's going to have a bigger effect without you having to spam your entire database every 6 months, because we're going to be trickling these comms out.
I'm genuinely sitting here thinking I need to ask you guys to come and help us, because we have a huge database, right?
Yeah.
And we are trying unsuccessfully through HubSpot, trying to segment it, but we're just not experts, right? In that sort, we talk about tech, but we're not the experts who run it. You are.
Yeah.
So I think genuinely we should have a chat, because we've got different ICPs all over it.
Yeah. Yeah, but your colleague in Mayfair, it may just be a simple case of setting up some simple automations to, get their data when they're booking. I don't know if they do guest Wi-Fi. Guest Wi-Fi is also a lovely way to do it.
Yeah, they did have guest Wi-Fi. Yeah,
guest Wi-Fi, table booking. What you can do there is I'll tell you what you could do. I just had an idea. So, whilst we work really closely with lots of loyalty programs, because our comms support the loyalty program, and they drive people through loyalty. If we're talking to a business that doesn't have loyalty, then we do this concept called stealth loyalty. So because if you've got data coming in through a booking system or guest Wi-Fi, we're tracking visits, right?
Yeah.
So we know when they're in the building and when they're not in the building, and that gives us a profile of who they are and how often they come. And so what you can then do is you can then reward the people in similar to loyalty without actually promoting the fact that you've got a loyalty program.
Yeah.
So these communications go through a surprise and delight.
Yeah.
The customer doesn't know they're going to get them.
Yeah.
What you would do is you would say every third visit, send them something like this. So for a nice high-end restaurant in Mayfair, it might be, maybe you'd want to get some feedback first after the visit. Hey, great to see you yesterday. How do we do? Maybe wait a couple of days. Invite them back. invite them back with a little promotion, maybe a glass of wine or something.
That is so, and that in essence, because you kind of think of that hospitality piece, doing that, the magic dust as it would be. That's it in a digital format, right? Being able to say to someone, we appreciate you spending your hard-earned money with us. Here's something little that we're just done for you, and you can still individualize it, right? Because these people sit in different buckets, I suppose, depending on the makeup of the person.
Yeah, and it's like, how do you get a second date? You have to ask.
Yeah. Tried. It's not working.
Sometimes they say no, and that's fine. But if
my analogy was more like ask 10, and one might say yes. They're really drunk. Yeah. Anyway, but no, and are you seeing more as times get harder in the industry? Obviously, when we're up against all the big macro factors, economy, war, all the horrible stuff going on. Yeah. Do you see more people leaning to looking at data? Because I always find it's easy to lose a customer, but harder to win one. So just kind of retaining what you've got in your database and keeping them coming back for more. Are you finding more people coming to you to get that help, or are people not educated enough to, without being rude, to understand that is a trigger you could use to bring people back?
Yeah, I think so. I think we always describe your database as an insurance policy for the future. Yeah. So even if you're not doing anything with it now, you should be, definitely. But even if you're not, by the bare minimum, at least be growing a database. We're seeing quite a lot of people leaning into loyalty at the moment, and that's just a really good. She mentioned loyalty today. She didn't say who or what. I didn't see anything in terms of when I checked out what it was, but which I probably should have, right? But I think it's definitely on people's tip of the tongues, right? Because you've got to retain these people, otherwise they're off next door. Yeah, well, look, if you've got no budget for marketing because the NI increases have just kicked in April. And you've got 10,000 people in your database, well, that's send them an email, communicate with them is not going to cost you anything other than your subscription to that CRM, right? It's like extremely low cost, high return. And you talking about returns, we've got a group of 40 that we get about a group of 40 sites. They can't remember how big the database is. I think over the last 3-4 years, we've made them just shy of £1 million. Wow. And that's insane. That's they haven't had to go out. That's what I'm saying. That's why it really intrigues me, because I feel like it's a revenue stream that we never really looked at. Or obviously technology's helped us being able to make that happen. But I just think if you're sitting there in a board meeting thinking, God, but food's down on prior year, liquor's down on prior year, merch is down on prior year, whatever it might be. Look at your loyal customers, look at your database, and think, what could they bring us? What can they do to help us kind of beef up the budget and challenge yourself against it? Yeah, absolutely. It's like giving somebody a megaphone and getting them to walk around your venue talking about how great your venue is. Love that. Because it's there, it's there to be. Well, used. There you rave. I got taught years ago at Hard Rock. Your raving fans are the only customers you should care about. The people who walk around going, "Oh, you definitely should go see Chris. He's great. Go and see Section 4. He's always in there." Those guys. But in a digital sense now, we can do that, but in a lot easier fashion. So, and what else with TalkBox? It must do. Has got lots of myriads of features and stuff that if I was a marketer, would I require another marketer you're going to tell me no, to use TalkBox? As in, how simple is it for me to switch on? I'm an idiot, and I've just moved into marketing because they've moved me over. How quickly could I start using your system without much help? Piece of cake. So we say sending your own. I just said that. we say building your own campaigns is like building a house of Lego bricks. You're just clicking blocks together. So, right. So the first thing what we do is we say, here's a platform, here's a strategy. With the strategy, obviously they have to agree to it, right? Yeah. So we show them the strategy. We say, this is what the journey should look like. Typically, it's about 12 automations. I'm guessing most people trust you at this point, right? Yeah. Maybe that some of them, but very rarely some will say, we'll actually start with a smaller number and we'll build up. Usually that's because they don't have buy-in from their boss to do promotions. Right, okay. So they're a bit scared. So they try a smaller number. Most people go, yeah, these automations are exactly what I was after. We will go and turn that on for them and make that happen. And at that point, we say, look, if you do nothing, it's going to be adding value from day one. If you want to send your own campaigns, and of course you're going to want to do that, you're going to want to do it for Christmas and Mother's Day and all that good stuff. We'll train you how to use the platform. About half an hour, and you beautiful drag and drop editor, click things together. But on that, to further the ease of use, we're a little bit different to some of our peers. So there's a couple of ways you can sell a CRM. So you can go and build lots of integrations, and then you can go to the market and you can market your CRM as the brand. And you can say, look, this is what we do. And if you have all of these systems we already work with, then we can work together and we're going to turn this thing on for you and you can have this database. So that's one way. The other way is what we do. So we have lots of integrations, but we have a smaller number of partners. So partners are businesses that we highly integrate and add loads of value to what they're doing.
Yeah.
So one example might be like Vita Mojo.
Yeah.
So they have a loyalty program, but they don't have the comms. So we've built this really tight integration with Vita Mojo. And so because we've been able to do that, and this is looping back to your question about usability, because we've been able to do that, we have this really cool, we call it third-party voucher integration, but effectively what it means is you set up a promotion in Vita, automatically appears inside TalkBox.
Yeah, that's cool.
You drag it into your campaign, you click send, and it's all done on the API, job done.
Very cool.
And we also, and then to that degree, you might have it with a loyalty program. Typically, you're going to have like a reward section. So when we send the email, rather than sending a discount code, we activate a reward on that customer's profile. So your email would say, hey, Chris, guess what? You just unlocked 10% off at Dave's Bar. Click here to use it. So you click a link in the email. Now you're in your loyalty environment, and it would show you your reward. So we've activated that.
Very cool.
So it's like you've got this little man
like the piping
activating
in between the two.
It's literally like having a marketing person looking inside the loyalty program.
I love the fact you're thinking of a little man.
Yeah.
Sitting in between.
Well, for a very long time, I was a little man. But just looking like, hey, he needs a birthday message. He needs to come back. Or we need to say thank you to him. He's a fantastic customer. Reward him, and just activating these rewards automatically.
Very cool.
So because we've built that really tight integration with that partner. Same as what we did for Quick Serve. We also partner with Red Cat's another one. And
yes.
Loke.
Know the Aussies.
Yeah, there's a few of them. Because we can do these really super deep integrations, because we're not trying to partner with everybody.
Yes.
It makes the end user's experience superbly easy.
Yeah, and I think that for me, because today I was doing a case study in said venue I've talked about 5 times, and I was talking to the assistant general manager, so not the owner, not the ops director, someone who works day to day in the business, who touches the tech and all this kind of stuff. And he said the most important 3 things to him were support, simplicity, and agility. I thought it was brilliant. I was like, man, give that guy a pay rise, because that really, in essence, of any product you're selling, whether you're doing CRM or whether you're doing EPOS, whatever, that ability to be able to serve someone and enable them to do a better job because of your product is our ultimate goal, right?
Yeah, and that agility one is a great one, because we've got a smaller number of partners, we've got dev resources to be able to move quickly, right? So we just signed up Honest Burgers over Christmas.
Very nice.
Yeah, and one of the things they said is, look, we're a super fast-paced environment. We don't really want to use discount codes, but we want you to be able to do that reward activation style. So, okay, it's with a partner that we're working with. We made it happen, and we signed them up.
Very cool.
So we're supporting them with the strategy.
And that ability as well, right? Because they're basically
with the development.
They're saying to you, can you move quickly, please? Because we do.
Yeah. Now, if we just work with 150 integrations, it goes in a queue, and then they all have to be prioritized.
I feel like that world seems really, it makes my head hurt a little bit, but I feel like it could be clunky, right? Because of you have 150, 140 could break, so, because things change, right? APIs do break down and stuff happens. Yeah. And I think when you're dealing with a massive amount of them, it does makes your business intricate.
Yeah.
And that brings complexity, and the end user will probably experience that.
Yeah. So we've got so we have the integrations you probably want to see, right? So we've got table reservations, Red's Diary,
Wi-Fi.
Collins, Wi-Fi. Adam, we do work with Adam Foreman.
You can't talk about Adam on this podcast. He's banned.
Wireless Social, Purple Wi-Fi.
No, we love captive Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so all of those ones you expect to see. They're like standard stuff. But where you're doing something a bit more interesting around like a payment channel like Click and Collect like Quick Serve, or a POS like Vita or Red Cat, or loyalty like Loke, for example, then we can start to actually say,
I love that,
build the whole platform around that strategy.
Yeah, because you're deliberately pointing to what fixes the customer's problems. Yeah. So rather than doing it en masse, you're focusing on, right, how can we get deep on these 5 or 6 issues that they all focus on, or 5 or 6 solutions they can all fix on. And you don't have to work with 15 of each product, right? No. Just pick the ones that you guys, because it's about relationships as well, right? It's about who you kind of want to work with as well, I suppose.
Well, there will be more. We're always like,
I feel like I just shut off your whole integration network just
no. No, there will be more integrations, or partners rather.
Right.
Definitely, we've got a few in the pipeline.
I just scuppered them. They're not coming.
No, that's fine. But the other benefit is that if we have lots of integration partners and we're going out and selling the brand, we've got to have people out there walking the streets, cold calling, saying, "Oh, we noticed you use X, Y, Z, and we think we can do some cool stuff with that." It's like really hard work, right? Whereas if we go the other way and we say, "How can we be supremely valuable to a partner?" We know the types of questions that partner is going to be asked, right? somebody sold a loyalty program. The next question is going to be, how do I talk to these people? What do I do with all this information?
Yeah.
We want to be
That
top of that list.
Yeah.
That means that for some of your listeners, you might not have heard of Impact Data or TalkBox because we're not as visible, I suppose, as some of our peers.
Yeah.
But that's because of our partner sales channel.
And that's a deliberate strategy.
And it means that when we're talking to an operator, from the minute we're speaking to them, we're adding value.
Yeah.
Because we know what problems they're trying to solve and we've got the answers to solve that. So there's less, if you're selling in a more standard environment, you've got that whole consultation. I'm trying to work out, what are your pain points? How can I add value?
That's my life, mate. Yeah.
And we don't need to do that.
Yeah.
We just say, look, you've invested in this platform. We're going to make that platform 10 times better by adding all this cool stuff on. And we're going to take all this work away from you. We're going to save you a whole bunch of time. It's just going to work. And they just go, perfect. Thank you so much.
And it's super relevant at the moment. We're doing some insight at the moment. We've got this year we're doing always on insight. So we're constantly collecting data from anyone we speak to, whether it be you, anyone. We just got this kind of 1 or 2 questions on all the time. And one of the bits of data we're collecting is satisfaction around current tech stack ease of use.
Yeah.
And it's scoring at 38% at the moment, which is
your review of
so we're asking operators constantly on a every day, every week, every time we speak to someone, give us a rating 0 to 10 on how you feel your ease of use of your current tech stack is, and the score. And it's probably not surprising, right, that people, because nobody really loves it, do they? I don't think people walk around going, I love my EPOS. I really want to go out for dinner with it.
It's just usually been built piecemeal over time.
Yeah, and I think. And there's something that's happened in integration when it's gone wrong, or one piece of tech isn't working very well. But it's enough, right? Because it's affecting their day-to-day operations, which is why they're sad about it. And I'm not surprised, but I'm still disturbed, I suppose, by 38% still sitting. It's low, and that's across like 180 people this last 2 weeks.
But as I say, I think it's because it's piecemeal.
Yeah.
So you start off. Usually, you get your POS. Then you need table bookings, then you might need Wi-Fi. Now you've got some data, now you need a CRM. And so you're just building it like a house of cards. And sometimes you're engaging with people and they've just loved using a platform. It might not be the best platform for you, but because they've loved it and they've recommended it, you're signing up for it.
Well, that's another stat I've got.
And then it's more jumbly.
And it's weird because I think 82% of people would recommend a friend, right? Who would who refer one of what they like, exactly what you just said, love what they love. But the problem is if your mate got it wrong, or doesn't know your business well enough, unfortunately that might not be the right choice for you. So I think there's a lot of solution unpicking to do. How do you feel? I mean, you've been in the industry for how long? So in this
17 years,
17 years.
You do the math, maybe longer.
And how often are you over in Oz? Do you see much of the Australian business? Do you understand what's going on over there? What other similarities, or how does it?
Yes, absolutely. We've been leading a little bit of, well, not leading, but demanding a lot of dev work in the UK at the moment, purely because our partner strategy is working really well at the moment.
Yeah.
So we're getting lots of requests for stuff. So we've been leading on that. And Lockie's a real good conduit for bridging that gap between the two. So he's over here this week. We're taking him around. We take him to people.
Is he enjoying himself in London?
Yeah, he loves it. He used to live here.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, I'm taking him to people that I know are going to ask for stuff that I can't promise them. So speak to Lockie, see what happens. So I've been. But when I go to Australia, they do a lot of loyalty out in Australia. So a lot of loyalty. They have.
It's quite digitized, isn't it? In terms of like ID, for instance, isn't ID like everything's quite. Well, they're not handing over. Like someone told me, it's kind of like almost like airport security controls when you're going through at night into nightclubs and whatnot. And
I think they have a lot of wallet passes.
Yeah,
which is what we were talking about today. So we went and saw
pass entry. Yeah,
Nico,
the cool kids, the cool tech kids. Yeah.
And then what was I going to say? So in Australia they have this concept called clubs. It's like a bit like American style country club,
right?
But for like normal people with normal jobs. And like you
don't have to be an oil driller.
Yeah, you don't have. And so when you go into these clubs, you are a member. So you have to live in the local area. You're a member. You pay a member fee, not a lot, a little bit. But when you go in and you buy coffee, you swipe your card. When you buy an ice cream, when you buy a pizza, they've got restaurants and and like cinemas and sports complexes. It's all in one under one.
And it all sits under the one.
Everything you do is scanned. So they have loads of
That's what I mean, and I think that because they're further ahead down the labour, obviously the labour is really expensive in Oz, or has been really expensive in Australia, so they're further down that line as well. So I just think they've digitised. It's why Red Cat is a great product actually, because they've kind of they're born out of there, and I think they come over here kind of scratching their heads a little bit, go what? Yes, definitely on Wi-Fi. Lawrence tells me a lot of Wi-Fi is terrible, or infrastructure, or a 4G even is just embarrassing compared to over there.
Well, we were with him yesterday.
He's over, isn't he?
Yeah, running around. So we had dinner with him yesterday. But yeah, he's they've got a great platform.
Yeah.
It's another really strong integration of ours. And they've got this whole, their whole thing is the fractured tech stack, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that they can just deal with a lot of pain points. And what we do is we come in as the comms piece to support that loyalty piece. So if you're going to talk to them about the loyalty in essence is really just a mechanic to apply.
And I think they just picked up. Didn't they just pick up a fish and chip shop chain? Not all fish and chip shop, but I think they've got them in their armory. I forget the Chesterfield Group.
Yeah,
is it?
Chesterfield Group.
Have they got fish and? I'm sure. Maybe I'm wrong, but I saw they picked it up. Right, that's their contract.
Yes, I think so. Yeah. Well, no, I do. I know so. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was public yet.
I don't know. Maybe it is now. No, I
think it is. Yeah.
Just here we go. Breaking news.
So we work with the Chesterfield Group too.
Yeah. Okay. I'll double check that before I put this out.
Yeah, double check. So we work with the Chesterfield Group. So that group of 40 sites I mentioned earlier that we made loads of money for?
Right.
That was them.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that was just their click and collect channel.
Right.
Which was, I think, when we worked it out, was like 4% of their customer base.
Wow.
So now you turn on loyalty, we're going to be talking to a lot more people.
I think it's one of the reasons I love doing the podcast is that if I'm a restaurateur listening, and I'm sitting there and I'm feeling a bit sad about the world, and what's going on.
There's things out there, isn't
take the opportunity. I cannot preach enough. I know everyone bore everyone about it, but just speak to this guy, speak to David, just have a chat to him and just see what they can do for you. Because it might just be a simple automation that makes you that £500 a week. And if you're telling me £500 a week's not enough to kind of help move your business forward, then maybe we're in the wrong job and we should all pack it up and go home. But I think I don't see a reason anymore why you wouldn't have that chat. I know there's lots of barriers and lots of other costs. I'm sure they think but I've been in your shoes, right? I've been in those. I've worked in those in that industry all my life, and I genuinely believe sitting today having lunch, talking to an owner of a restaurant, saying exactly the same to me. I was staring at, thinking, I wish I'd done the pod before I'd met her, because I would just picked up the phone, went ring him. So great. I will. I'll tell. No, straight after this, I'll give you a number, give her a ring, and just have a chat to her, and just see if you can help. Because I just think the solutions are there now. And they are good enough, and you've got proof, which is the other thing I think is always a worry.
We also report that on the front page, so we got performance reports now.
Yeah, I think you showed me that on our call. Actually, there's like is it on the reporting page?
Yeah, so it says account performance, and you click through, and it will show you how much revenues come into your business that week from your database, and then how many people from the database have visited. So.
That'd be like a drug to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, because you've got all these automations running. You don't want to be analysing the performance of every individual one. Well, you might do at some point, maybe, a bit of housekeeping. But day to day, you just want to know, is all the automation working?
From a senior point of view, right, I just want to know, I'm paying these guys X.
Yeah.
My restaurant's in doing this scenario, but we've made 5K from the database last week or whatever it might be. And it's just a massive indicator and it's also not just what you're doing in terms of giving them the ability to see it. It's what that money can then further do in the business, and you can actually plan for it almost, because if you know the behavior after a while of working with you, if you understand some rhythms, some automations, you know what's going to return, then you can, because I think you said you can do a prediction, right, on how people might behave. So budgeting and all that kind of stuff becomes slightly different, right? Yeah, because you can kind of, and also with new sites, I presume, if it's a similar type demographic, similar location, you can use your data to predict what might happen there. So I just think there's loads of use cases to say, this makes sense, let's do it, and especially the one that gives you money straight 100%. Away. It just seems no-brainer to me, but yeah.
Well, there's we just signed up a chicken franchise, and we were talking costs, and we're not expensive. We're not like the cheapest. We're not expensive. We're about where you'd imagine us to be. Yeah. And he was saying, well, I've got to go and kind of sell this concept to 15 franchisees. And then he tells me that they're spending X amount on flyer drops each week, and we were about half of that.
You were like, boom.
And I said, what are you doing? Just tell them to stop doing that.
Yeah. I've just done your ROI.
Yeah.
And saved you having to press order each week. Yeah. But I think there's so many nuances like that, right? And so many stories I've heard about random things, and people can go, oh yeah, it's a one. It's not a one-off. It's everywhere, and it's because the nature of the business is reactive. Yeah. We do, and the great thing about hospitality is that it can be agile, but it gets harder and harder to be agile, right? And you start looking at spends, going, wow, this is becoming not untenable, but it's getting there, right? Where you're just thinking, blowing money, trying activities that aren't working. When if you speak to someone like you, they can say, And I'm not trying to just sell you it. I think it's really important that people listen to this and say, there's an opportunity to make some cash, put some more cash on your bottom line, and then after that, work out what you want to do. But just try it. And if it works, wow.
Well, on that, actually, one of the things that we've just been doing for one of our partners is because we've got the data now that shows what a typical ROI looks like for that particular customer. We are doing like account surveys. So it's free of charge. What we do is we turn a TalkBox account on and we pull all the data through from the partner system. So like let's say it's click and collect. So that will all come through. It will go through our integration. So our integration is different to a typical integration. So a typical integration, you're just taking data from A to B.
Yeah.
What we're doing is we're doing analysis on the data on the way in. So we turn it on, the data flows in, we do all this analysis. And then because we've done that analysis, we can then say, okay, if you was to start communicating from today, we think you would generate X amount per month based on this forecast. And that forecast is typically like 10 times more than it costs TalkBox. So it's like, look, even if it's half of our prediction, turn it on.
Yeah.
And so we can help qualify them before they turn it on by doing that analysis, which just gives them some comfort. But we can only do that because we've got the data behind it, right?
Yeah, I feel like we're just selling ice to the Eskimos here. Is that the right way to say it? I don't know. I think it's obvious, put it that way. Look, super interesting. How long are you left in London for? Did you say you're here for, is it Lockie?
Yeah, Lockie and Ops Director Mark. Okay. So we've got an Airbnb in Paddington.
Oh, yeah. That's where I'm going now.
It's cheaper than 3 hotels for 3 nights, right?
Yeah, the Dojo boys stay in Paddington. They've got their own flat. God knows what goes on in it. But Chris and Hans. Yeah. I've never been. They've asked me to go once and I went, no thanks. Yeah. So they stay. But there's some lovely places down there, actually.
On the canal.
That's right. Yeah, that's where they are.
I went for a run last night. There's some amazing restaurants on there.
If you didn't fall in.
That was a concern.
Check you out running. I can't even run for my train. But look, if people want to get hold of you and actually and just give you a go, I think that's the most. For all I'm asking is just go and just try and then see what's the best way to get hold of you.
You can send me an email, or they can speak to you, and you can push them my way. Can I describe my email?
Yeah, you can give your email, website. Go for it.
Okay, so the website is www.impactdata.com.au. There is a UK version of it, but I
think if you click AU, it just puts you there anyway, right?
It takes you there anyway. And then my email address is david.bird@impactdatauk.co.uk.
Perfect.
And as I said, you just want to chat, you want us to look at your data and see, what you think we might be able to get back out of it. We can totally do that. There's no hard.
I think I'm going to try in the copy of this podcast to give some of the. I'll get it from the script, but get some of those kind of tangible ROI results you can get from it, which is really cool, right? And also the where you turn on your data and kind of get it, so you can kind of give them a good idea of where it might land.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's so cool. Right, look, lovely, mate. Look, it's getting busy out there.
I know.
DJ's here, ready to play.
Yeah.
All right, but thank you very much. That was David Bird from Impact Data, everyone. If you want to check out TalkBox, you can find them on the marketplace, or you can chat to David, maybe chase him on LinkedIn. 100%. I'm sure he doesn't mind. If not, he'll be running by the canal if you need him. So get him there. Thank you very much, David, mate. Have a lovely evening.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.
See ya.